More now on all of that with somebody who was a now former member, I guess, of that commission. Former Ohio Secretary of State and Treasurer Ken Blackwell also served as the Trump transition team's domestic policy advisor. Ken, thank you for joining us. And let me start, and I truly don't want to be combative here, but honestly, how was this voter fraud commission anything other than a big waste of time?
Well, it wasn't a waste of time, Holly. If you remember back in the spring of last year, the president disbanded 2 business councils once he figured that it was marred in conflict and had become dysfunctional. And he in fact disbanded the business councils. And what do we have now? We have a growing economy at a 3% clip. We have Dow hitting 25,000. We have labor participation rate going in the right direction. So what he understood as an entrepreneur is that if in fact you have a commission that is marred in controversy, has in fact become dysfunctional because of that controversy,
you're acknowledging then that this commission,
you move on.
You're acknowledging this commission was dysfunctional.
Well, what I'm acknowledging is that we have become dysfunctional only because we were tied up in 5 lawsuits. And so if in fact your job is to figure out what are the vulnerabilities in a system, in a decentralized system, that if we address them, we strengthen the integrity of our elections. You go on and you figure out a way to do that. He has basically said, we're going to let Homeland Security take a hard look at that, work with the bipartisan national associations of secretaries of state, and fix our system. Nobody basically believes that this is the perfect system. Nobody disputes that our voter rolls have been corrupted and are in need of fixing, and nobody challenges the notion that we have vulnerabilities from international actors, from China or Russia, etc.
Well, the president has not been as explicit on that final point as you make it sound like he's been, Ken. But let me ask you, I got to get you 2 things before I let you go. But number one, we talk about DHS now taking this over, because that's a central question. Where does this go from here? Chris Kobach is saying it's going to go to the Department of Homeland Security. No independent oversight, obviously, of how this is all going down. So what is next if you really do want to investigate issues with voting here?
Well,
which, by the way, is a small, tiny fraction of the votes that have happened. But go ahead.
Yeah, I think what you could do is to invite Jay Johnson and the present Homeland Security leader to come and talk about that, because Jay Johnson was the first to say that there were vulnerabilities in our system, and we needed to take a look at how we, in a decentralized system where elections, even though we have a national election day, we have 50 state elections under the management of 50 state election managers. And so getting people talking together, working on a bipartisan basis to deal with those vulnerabilities is what we need. And I applaud the president I applaud the president for saying, why get bogged in lawsuits and dysfunctionality when, in fact, we can get it done another way?
The reason I think that there was a lot of concern about this is because a lot of people saw this as actual voter suppression. Remember that this started because the president made an unfounded claim that there was widespread voter fraud in this country that cost him the popular vote. That is the origins of the commission that has now been disbanded. So let me just quickly go back
no, it isn't. If you look at the mission, excuse me, Holly, if you look at the mission,
hang on 1 second. It's my show. I get to ask the questions about.
Let me just say,
over the last 11 months, I just want you to explain to me what you actually accomplished. That's my question to you. What actually got accomplished over the last 11 months?
I'm answering your question. What we basically have, in fact, accomplished is that although we've had only 2 meetings, we have now began to categorize and catalog the vulnerabilities within the system. The question now is, how do we, as people who represent 320 million Americans, how do we come together and make our system stronger? We got to get out of this knucklehead partisanship when it comes to making our elections sound and fair.
Ken Blackwell, appreciate you being on the show.